Ace Podcast.
Okay, pal. St. Patrick's Day's over. Time to go home. Don't be giving me any attitude, all right? I gotta close up.
Aye.
Very good. We have a method actor.
Blood and Black Rum Podcast presents Leprechaun 2. Hey, welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum Podcast. This is Ryan from themoonsdeadworld.net. I'm joined with my co-host Martin.
How's it going?
And we're back after a little hiatus. Unexpected. Last week we had meant to have a podcast episode up for the night Evelyn came out of the grave. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. Martin was a little sick.
It happens.
So, and actually, we didn't know if we were going to be able to get this podcast episode out either. Because we got a fucking huge snowstorm yesterday.
Yeah.
The biggest of the season by far, definitely.
Well, it was a very mild winter up until...
Yeah, we've had a couple storms, but nothing like this. This was like 20...
I didn't even measure.
I think it was like 28 inches, something like that. It was definitely higher than 2 feet. So we got a huge snowstorm, but we're all cleared out. We're good.
Only took us a day.
That's right. Yeah. That's a hard. That's when you know you live in like the country where it's like, it was a big snowstorm on one day. It's fine. We're out and about the next. Some people are out yesterday.
Yeah, I was laughing at some of the pictures of people.
What, did they get stuck or
In
something?
like a ditch.
Like, yeah, you should have been out.
Well, no, I'm not judging, but there was like one picture I saw of like was saying how Montgomery County roads were shut down, and a cop was coming up, and somebody put their SUV into the ditch by Big Lots in Amsterdam, like right where you're going right by the plaza.
Yeah,
and it's just like
right
right in the ditch sideways, tilted like with its ass end like up in the air, and it's like, ooh, that must have been a fun,
Yeah, it did a doozy on that one.
But
yeah, well, but at least we were able to do this podcast. It's important. Because this Friday is St. Patrick's Day.
Mm-hmm.
A huge celebration for no one. Not a very big holiday. Not for me, at least. Even though I am part Irish, I really don't care about it that much. I gotta say, it doesn't affect me either way. Like if I did not celebrate Halloween, that would haunt me. I've had dreams where I forgot Halloween and it was like Halloween Day and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I not prepared for this? So if I missed Halloween, yeah, I would be devastated. I did one time. We had soccer practice on Halloween night. Fucking did not get over it for a long time. Maybe still not over it. But St. Patrick's Day, if I forget about it, if I miss it, not really a big deal. It's just a day for me to drink beer. And hopefully dyed green, because that's a thing. And that's about it. What about you? Does it mean anything for you and your family?
no, I'm not Irish. I'm not Catholic.
Yeah. Funny fact, though, any Catholics listening, you are allowed corned beef on St. Patrick's Day this year for Friday. Even though on Fridays during Lent, you're not supposed to be eating meat. Corned beef on St. Patrick's Day on a Friday is not considered meat.
Who said that?
One of the main Catholic priests or whatever.
A bishop?
Bishop, yeah, has said that. If you look it up, it's a thing. Because there were growing concerns, not this year, but in a St. Patty's Day past, that it fell on a Friday during Lent, wherein you're not supposed to eat meat. So, because of the traditions of St. Patrick's Day, that overrules your Lent meat eating or meat.
But wouldn't God's, saying don't eat meat on Friday kind of trump your?
Well, funny thing is, I actually looked this up because meat eating in general, the Lenten meat, the Lenten abstaining from meat is very hypocritical because, as you know, you can eat fish, and to me, fish is a fucking meat.
No, it's fish. Poultry's.
Exactly.
Poultry, not meat.
Right, exactly. And that's where I'm going with this, is that within Lenten tradition and within the Catholic tradition, certain things are considered meat, certain things are not. Fish, because they live in the sea, are not considered meat. It only pertains to land living animals. So anything that primarily resides in the sea,
you're good.
You can eat on Fridays.
Which I know because I was picking a lot of fish sticks at work.
Yeah. Yes.
And I mean a shit ton. And you know what? To be honest with you, I totally, because I don't care about holidays. Especially religious
You don't
ones.
care about Catholic traditions like Lent.
So yeah, I totally didn't eat, forgot.
But now you're putting two and two together, and it's like, wow, yeah, they're eating a lot of fish sticks.
Yeah, because I was like, why the hell am I grabbing so many fish sticks?
Yeah, well,
I work in a distribution center. That's why, folks.
Well, that's why.
But I was grabbing a bunch of fish sticks.
It's acceptable to eat heavily processed fish sticks.
And then the next day,
Fisherman Gordon's.
Yeah, and then someone the next day brought up it's Lent, and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, but how much chicken do you think slips into those fish sticks? Probably more than you'd care to admit.
Or dolphin.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's the thing though, because I looked it up. You're also allowed to eat stuff like penguins, alligators. That stuff's fine on Lent. It's cool. If for Fridays, you can eat that stuff.
Well, because they go between land and sea.
Right, they're primarily considered mostly sea, so you can eat them. You can also eat geese and stuff, like birds that generally are out to sea. I guess I don't know. It's a weird tradition. But what I'm getting at, the point I'm getting at to that whole tradition is that it actually came from most of your land animals back in the day were not traditionally slaughtered like all the time like we have now. You know what I mean? You'd slaughter them for special occasions.
Oh yeah, meat's a luxury.
Right, it was a luxury. So obviously back then you were like, fuck you're not eating meat on Friday. Like you're supposed to be, abstaining from things. So no, you cannot eat, you slaughter Sadie the pig on Friday to eat it. No, you're going to eat fish.
You eat your beans and dirt and be happy.
That's right. So that's where that came from. little Catholic information. I'm not Catholic either, but I just looked it up because I was really interested in why there's that category of land animals are meat, but fish is not.
Well, I mean, I tried telling myself one of these days I'm going to sit down and just read the Bible.
Yeah.
Just to do it,
give it a shot. Maybe it's a good read. Maybe that's what everybody's talking about. It's like a #1 New York Times bestseller. Dean Koontz takes a lot of inspiration.
The Dean Koontz Bible. I would read it.
That's right. That would be like T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland. He always quotes that in all of his books. So
does he?
That's his Bible. But
he must have saw your senior.
That's right.
Your senior.
Yeah, must be. Yeah. Well, that's actually where I got it from.
It's from Koontz.
From Koontzy.
Oh,
cueing me into T.S. Eliot. Then I actually started studying British lit and stuff in college, and then I said, "Wow, T.S. Eliot was a fucking pretentious prick." Who was intentionally quoting these very obscure artifacts, knowing that only scholars would know about them.
Look how fanciful it is.
Right, exactly. And doing these things because only scholars would know what he's talking about. That's now you have some artists who are so pretentious, you have to do actual research to figure out what they're even talking about.
Like Batman v Superman?
Oh yes, exactly. You're gonna keep harping on that until people stop listening to the podcast.
He's God, if you didn't get the clue. Or is he a devil? It's art.
Yeah.
Or is it?
Alright, we're way off topic. But anyway, St. Patrick's Day is this Friday. And that's why we're doing Leprechaun 2 this week instead of the night Evelyn came out of the grave, because we wanted it to be topical. We did Leprechaun 1 last year around this time. We didn't want to
miss it. We did the hell did we do? I think we did
we did something out of the range of when it normally would be done. I can't remember what it was though. It's a good question. Yeah.
I just remember we missed a holiday a couple of weeks. We're gonna do it anyway though.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. Good. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it was. But anyway, so we're on to Leprechaun 2. And as you remember, if you remember from our previous episode from Leprechaun, which was way far back, we're on I don't even remember episode 20. I always do this. I'm never prepared.
We are good keepers.
Never prepared to actually give the episode number in case you're really wondering, wanted to go back and see. But
we are just really good keepers of the
I know.
faith around here when it comes to all that. Just like, hey, what's the episode? Go to SoundCloud.
yeah, that's right. That's what I normally do. All right, yeah, episode 18. So I was real close. We did it right after we did our Billy Valentine watching. So, I mean, yes, we did not very much like Leprechaun, the original.
Oh, it was not good at all.
No. It's a very difficult watch. I will say, like, even from a standpoint of watching it as a horror comedy, which is pretty much, I mean, it's a horror comedy. Warwick Davis is obviously playing things up for laughs as the Leprechaun. But even so, watching it as a horror comedy is still a really rough movie.
Because it's not funny.
It's not, yeah, that's part of the problem. It's not funny. It's overly long.
It's an hour and 20.
I know, but it seems like it's forever. It feels like it's forever.
No, I know.
You know what I mean.
No, I know. No, I know, because that's something we harped on quite a bit, was like, this film fucking feels like it takes forever to go anywhere.
Yeah, constantly.
But it's in only 100 minutes long.
Yeah.
That's how you know you're in for a good time.
Yeah, that's right. But so, I've seen Leprechaun 2 before. I don't know if you have before.
Yes, I have.
Oh, you have seen it before?
I've seen the first 3.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We used to play them on UPN back in the day.
Yeah, they did. That's when you know, too, that you're scraping bottom barrel. When UPN got the rights to the movie, they were like practically giving those rights away. Like, yeah, we'd love it if you played it on syndicated television for us, please. Yeah. But I mean, I will say, I enjoy Leprechaun 2 a lot more than Leprechaun.
I agree.
I think, even though it's no one would go out of their way to say, wow, this is really great. Leprechaun 2, go out and see it. It's a lot more fun. I think that's the key word, is like, it's a lot more fun than the original Leprechaun. I didn't really remember it that well until we actually got into it, and then I kind of started remembering it a little bit. But it's just, I don't know.
All I remember is Jennifer Aniston before she knew how to act. And
yeah, that was original Leprechaun.
Became America's sweetheart.
That's right.
In Office Space, and I just remember they had like a retarded adult guy that they all made fun of for being retarded. Like,
yeah, but I mean Leprechaun 2. I didn't really remember this one that much until I got into the film itself and yeah.
Yeah, no, it was. The only thing I remember is the damn coin.
Yeah.
Wanting the damn coin and the very 90s chic of it.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a minute, actually.
But then to be fair, too, with like Leprechaun 1, and I didn't remember it really at all.
Yeah.
Like I said, all I remember was Jennifer Aniston. That was it. Same thing with Leprechaun 3.
I really don't remember Leprechaun 3 at all. And it'll be another year until we get to that one, so...
no marathon this time.
No. Our friend actually did a marathon of it for BuzzFeed, I think it was, or something like that, and wrote about it. Yeah,
God bless them.
Yeah. Well, you know who this is, Jared Jones. He did that marathon. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know. And, I saw it, and I was just saying, God bless him.
God bless it.
Which, by the way, that's who I saw the first 3 Leprechauns with. It was over at his house. So,
and I mean, yeah, that would be a rough marathon, definitely, especially as you get in, like, even like once you get into Leprechaun back to the Hood and Leprechaun in Space, those are, I can imagine those are just really difficult to get through. Leprechaun in the Hood is really not a good movie.
Well, how can a movie called Leprechaun in the Hood?
Oh, you'll see.
Be a great movie.
In 5 years, you'll see. All right, so let's take a break from Leprechaun 2, and we'll talk about what the beer we're drinking this week, because we did save these beers for this week particularly, because we wanted to fit in with that Irish theme for St. Patrick's Day. So you picked up the Guinness specialty pack, which has a number of different beers that they don't generally offer. It's kind
at least around here.
Yeah, exactly. I've never really seen them before. One, they do keep their regular Guinness in there, which we did on the last episode,
and we gave a thumbs down.
Thumbs down. Not a great stout. there's many, many more that you could seek out that's better. And if you want a black hole, then go to Ommegang for the Game of Thrones black stout.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Guinness as a whole for its mainstay, it's there, you know, it's good for in certain times, but I wouldn't say that's a very good stout based on what we've had thus, you know, after trying Guinness, thinking it was good, you move on to other more able-bodied stouts, just not as good.
I mean, I think it's supposed to be, though, kind of, like, the whole purpose behind, like, the nitrogen widget and all that is to make it, like, a lighter, creamier. But at the same time, like, you're right, it lacks on the flavor, so, like, yeah. It almost is like that cliche, like, if you go to a bar and you're, like, trying to pick up chicks and you want to look like you're not, like, your average dude bro.
Yeah.
You want to be, like, a little bit, you know, like, cooler. Like,
Yeah, a little different.
Be like, oh, I'll get the Guinness.
Live on the dark side.
Yeah, so they're like, oh, wow, he's, you know.
He's different.
He's not drinking a Bud Light.
Well, that's not a solid first impression anyway. If you go in and like, well, he's not drinking a Bud Light, so he must be a little bit better than the normal people that I hang out with.
I mean,
yeah.
No.
I know.
You never know.
I know. Well, today we're actually trying the two new beers that are in that pack, and they're both porters. It's a little bit different. Stout. And a porter, not the same, similar taste and style, but different. And the first that we had was their West Indies Porter, which is a pretty interesting style. It's got a little bit of hops in there. There's a heavy malt presence, and I liked it quite a bit.
It's pretty hoppy for a porter.
Like a porter.
It's 50 IBUs, which you don't normally in a porter see.
The bitterness.
As I've said before on this podcast, when it comes to Guinness, I can't help but try their new things. But I know going in, for the most part, I more than likely am not going to like it. Because most of their outside kind of styles just have been average to terrible.
Not good, yeah.
To terrible. And I will say the West Indies Porter is great. I like it a lot. I think it's a very, very good porter. I do like the fact that it does have a hoppiness to it that you don't generally see in porters, but it's not. I don't think it's too hoppy.
No.
And then after you get that hop bitterness, you get like the malt sweetness and caramel and toffee and a little bit of coffee.
Yep.
It's not too strong. It's not like like a breakfast stout, but you get all that in there, and it makes for a really good, really enjoyable, flavorful porter, and it's got like a great mouthfeel to it.
Yeah, it does. So. Yeah, I like that they are kind of throwing back a little bit. This is they're new recipes, but they're based on like an older style of recipes that were traditionally used back in the day, you know, in the 1800s. And I think this is a really interesting experiment for them, one that I'd like to see released more, not just in a pack, but
like a wide, yeah.
But as a wider release, because I think a lot of people would actually like this. It kind of is a bridge between like I love IPAs and stouts. You know what I mean? Because those are two opposite spectrums. And this is kind of a bridge between them. I think there would be a lot of people that would want to take advantage of.
I think that like comes across as like a bit more enjoyable for me than like say like a black IPA.
Yeah,
because a black IPA for me usually is too hoppy, and then the overly maltiness of it just clashes totally. Whereas this has the balance between the hoppiness and the malt sweetness. Yeah,
it's really hard to do a black IPA well. Because sometimes they don't balance. If you don't have it balanced just right, it's not going to be that great. I have had some really good ones. Saranac's specialty one that they serve at their bar is a really good black IPA. But I think you can only get it there. I don't know. I've never seen it out anywhere else. So, but yeah, those are few and far between. And I do think that the West Indies Porter is a really good bridge between those that people should pick up if you see this pack. I really do think that this beer actually makes it worth picking that pack up. Because then you have the foreign stout that's in there as well, which is also a really, really good beer. From my memory, because I haven't had it in a while. It's a good beer from my memory.
It's been about 4 years from now. And I remember when I had it. I loved it.
So
I can't wait until next week.
I know. I can't wait to try it. The one thing I wanted to point out too before we go into the second beer is that these two porters have a different labeling style than the general Guinness do. They have like kind of a throwback label. The West Indies porter has like a shield on it. Looks a lot older than some of the other styles, and they don't have a label on the neck of the bottle, which I like quite a bit.
It's great.
It's kind of like an old timey, like, we don't label these, you know what I mean? This is just from home stock. I like that a lot. So it's just another interesting thing to point out. We'll move on to the Dublin Porter, which is the other style of porter that Guinness includes in this pack. And unfortunately, this one is definitely not as good as the West Indies Porter.
It's very bland.
Yeah.
Granted, it's 3.8 alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the West Indies is, I think, 6.5.
It actually doesn't list the oh wait, yes it does. 6%.
6%. But in the Dublin Porter, you can definitely taste it's low on the alcohol. Because this is a very light, very watery, not very flavorful beer.
Yep.
And it lacks like any strong body characteristic. I guess you could say it's like a session porter, but when I'm drinking a porter, that's not something that
you want to session.
that I'm really looking for, you know. I don't want to, even like on a cold winter day, I'm like, I want to like drink like a bunch of beer. I'm not going to be like, drink 5, light porters.
Yeah.
I'd rather just drink like 2, good porters or like heavier stouts and then, be like, I'm good,
I mean, the interesting thing about this Dublin Porter is that it tastes a lot like Guinness's flagship beer, except it doesn't have the mouthfeel because of the nitro. Which is even worse because if Guinness is relatively flavorless for a stout, it does have a damn good mouthfeel to it because of that nitro. So the porter is even lacking that, meaning it's kind of like a less creamy version of the Guinness stout. And there's just nothing that stands out about the Dublin Porter to me at all. Like tasting it, I don't get notes of anything besides like maltiness. That's pretty much
just a bland maltiness and
they're listing on the bottle that it has a dark caramel note, but I don't really get that.
Well, they probably had the guy who wrote the review for the generous ale saying figs and plums and...
Yeah, I mean, the Dublin Porter coming off of the West Indies Porter is really disappointing. Really disappointing.
I would never drink it again.
No, they can move on to something else. Dublin, come up with a better recipe. Look to your West Indies pals. Or enslave them. Anything else you want to add?
You would think, now I think about it, you would think the West Indies would be called the Dublin, because it's, it would remind people more of like, Dublin, nice hearty beer. Where if you're in the West Indies, you would want something light and...
I think that's where the hoppiness comes in from the West Indies.
I know, but it's hotter than balls, the Caribbean. So don't you want,
Not many people would probably want to drink a porter in general in the West Indies, I wouldn't think.
You never know.
Maybe on the ship going back home. It's getting chilly. It's only 50 degrees. It's getting fucking cold out. Something like that.
As soon as it turns 50, I'm putting shorts on.
I know.
Can't wait.
All right, so that's it for our Irish drinking. I will say that I also bought the Saranac Irish pack, which is pretty good. It's got a Irish red ale, Irish lager, and an Irish stout. And you can make a black and tan with that Irish lager and the Irish stout, which I have not done.
Or do they even put like the...
They say it on there. They say mix with the Irish stout, or on the Irish lager or on the Irish stout bottle it says mix with our Irish lager. I have not tried that. I still have two left, so I could do it.
We'll do it next week.
Yeah.
We'll do the foreign extra and we'll do that.
Yeah. So
our first black and tan on
that's right, yeah. I haven't had it. I've never made one myself.
Neither have I, because it's something that I don't really
do a mix beer thing.
Well, not only that, but like even like bottled black and tans I've had, I haven't really cared for.
I'd be interested to try this though, especially at their recommendation.
Yeah, I would too.
Maybe we'll try it next time. All right, so let's get into Leprechaun 2. Honestly, like I said, not remembering Leprechaun 2. I thought we would come into this podcast really hating Leprechaun 2, because I remember with Leprechaun 1, we're just kind of ragging on it the whole time. But I gotta say that I have some love for Leprechaun 2. As I said when we were watching it, it feels like an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode for adults.
That's the most succinct, perfect review that this thing could slap on its DVD box.
I know. This was 1994. Are You Afraid of the Dark would have been... It started in 1990, so it would have been running. And Are You Afraid of the Dark did do a Leprechaun episode in their first season. So I believe that they had their Leprechaun episode in like the beginning of 1990, if I remember correctly. Actually, no, it wasn't until 1992. My bad. It was part of season 1, but they must have had a break between them. But this is a very similar feel and style to that type of 90s video. You know what I mean? Like the direction, the filming, the sets,
style. Yeah,
they all are very reminiscent and nostalgically pleasing to me. Because, like, if you didn't have some of the nudity, which is kind of shoehorned in, it's really pushed in. The nudity in here is really pushed into this film.
You didn't want to see those boobies?
No, I'm just saying, if you didn't have it...
You don't want her just randomly showing... Like,
yeah, but that's the thing, though. Let's be honest with you, with the audience. That is not our actress, Siobhan Durkin's boobs. Those are not hers. That is a body double. And the reason you know that that's a body double is, first of all, her boobs are not that big when she's in her bra. And second of all, whenever they show the actual boobies, they don't show her head.
Yeah.
So you know that that's not Siobhan Durkin.
So, yeah, no.
So it takes the fun out of...
Not only that, though. Well, I mean, how old was she when she made this? They don't say how old...
Right. That's the thing that makes you uncomfortable, is that if this is an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode in all other senses, then you have like some 15-year-old girl who's like, let me rip my top off in this Leprechaun 2 movie. Yeah, it's a little bit awkward to watch that. Especially, yeah, I mean, you don't really get a sense, like, you're not, I don't know how old these people are. Like, our main character, Cody, works.
But he's got to be
apparently not going to school.
But he's got to be he's at least 16.
Yeah. Because he has a learner's permit, so he doesn't even have his license. So yeah, I mean he's not that old. So yeah, it's kind of weird. That nude scene is weird.
So yeah. No, I will agree. It's not like when the boobies came out. It's like, ooh.
At the same time,
it's not like ooh boobies. It's like,
ooh, yeah. But at the same time, that's an illusion. So the film is hoping, like, well, you know, you can write that off as, like, Leprechaun playing a prank. It's not really a 15-year-old's boobies. It's a illusion of, like, Sports Illustrated models' boobies snapped onto, like, a 15-year-old girl.
It's also rapey, too, though, because he's gonna marry her and...
Yeah.
Give her a little leprechaun litter.
Yeah. And it's rapey. Yeah, it is. The thing I was getting at with that is, like, if you subtract that nudity, if you get rid of some of the swears, and you take out some of the more over-the-top violence, you got an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode. And, like, I don't know if that's necessarily a positive thing for Leprechaun 2. Because you're not, I mean, I'm not thinking of Are You Afraid of the Dark and being like, wow, they had some really great production values on that show.
You can tell it's Canadian.
Yeah, exactly, right? And, like, it's the same thing with Leprechaun 2. You can tell that this does not have very good production values or anything like that, because that set underground looks horrible. And even Siobhan Durkin says it when she first gets down there in the dungeon, and Leprechaun asks her what she thinks of her new home, and she says, it's horrible! And that's exactly what the viewer's thinking, too, because it's really not a good set.
Well, they wasted all their money paying Warwick Davis.
Probably.
Oh, yeah.
And finding all that gold.
Yeah. Put that in there. Gold.
Gold! No, yeah, but... see... I like that style, though, that it's kind of reminiscent. It's like, this film is totally 90s. It's, there's a...
Preface that.
Yeah.
It's totally early 90s.
Yeah, early 90s.
Because I've been on a big REM kick of late.
Saw that.
They're one of my favorite bands of all time. But I've been listening to a lot of their later, mid and 90s stuff of late, and late 90s stuff.
Yeah.
And just watching one of their videos from the late 90s, from the Great Beyond. That just like green tone and just the style of clothes they're wearing. And it's this weird mix of 60s and then late 90s kind of rave chic. It's oh god, you can tell that encapsulates 98 to 2000. Bam, right there. This movie, it's you can tell, bam, encapsulates 91 to 94 in a nutshell.
Well, we said even that the main character Cody, who's played by Charlie Heath, he looks a lot like the main guy from Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, I said he looks like a low rent version.
Yeah,
which that guy's a low rent version, as you said, of Eric Matthews from Boy Meets World.
Basically.
They got that same cut of hair, the parted down the middle, but it's long on the side.
Like a swoop, it's wavy and
jean jacket, baggy shirt, and a baggy overshirt, but it's not a button up. It's a what the hell would you call it? A sweater?
Yeah,
a thin sweat.
Some sort of sweater or
thin sweater and the baggy jeans and where's the perfect place to take your date? The go-karts. We're gonna go to the go-karts.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's so I'm moping because my girlfriend might have broken up with me, so I'm sitting on my bed looking through pictures. It's just looking through pictures while it's very obvious early 90s alt rock songs playing in the background.
Yeah,
that you would hear during Free Willy or something where it's sad the whale's getting taken away.
Yeah, that is one of your main cues right there, is that scene of just sitting around looking at photographs about his maybe not girlfriend.
They don't even say,
because we don't know.
They don't even really say they act like they are.
Yeah,
but they don't say specifically they are. But then when she gets pissed off at him for blowing off their date because he's trying to help his
uncle Morty
or whatever the hell he is doing.
He calls him an uncle, but he's a guardian.
His guardian, yeah. She gets pissed off, and when they finally get there, his one friend, how is he even friends with him? Because what's he doing? He's just as soon as she shows up, he's slapping her on the ass and putting his arm around her, here, I'll show you this stuff and whatnot. She's okay.
Yeah.
Because she's I'm going to get back at him by doing this or whatever. It's so wait, is she are they just friends and they want, or are they actually dating and she's pissed off, so now she's going to cock tease his friend?
I don't know, that's a pretty passive-aggressive move, being mad about having to go to work.
I know, to have the money to then take you to go-karts.
To go-karts, yeah. I don't agree with that. He should have just left her to Leprechaun. Not gone after her. Well, that's too much work.
I have other things to do.
I'm just going to let you go. But, yeah.
Speaking of his work, the fucking working for this shitty con...
murder house tours,
tour thing, and the people that he's literally telling in front of their face that he's conning them out of their money for, they're wearing fanny pack, they're the most stereotypical LA tourists ever in the world. They're wearing fucking Hollywood sweaters, a Hollywood hat,
and that's how my parents show up to tours.
with fucking both of them wearing fanny packs. It's
matching shirts. And hats.
It's oh god.
Yeah, I love it. I love that Clint Howard is in this movie for 2 minutes. Why? How? Was Ron busy, and Clint went up to him and was like, "Hey, you got any?" I don't know what Ron was doing in 1994, but like, was he like, "Hey, Ron, you got any work for me?" And Ron's like, "No, actually, Clint, I don't really have any work for you, but I hear Leprechaun 2's shooting. They need tourist number 2. Could probably get you in on that set."
You don't want to preface that?
What?
Who Clint Howard?
Clint Howard is Ron. That should be obvious. You're listening to this podcast. You don't know Clint Howard and Ron Howard. Come on. No, but that's not fair to Clint Howard. I think he shows up in all these kinds of genre films.
Maybe he just
in the 90s and 2000s.
He's like Malcolm McDowell. He just loves movies. That's why he's got to show up in the absolute shittiest films possible, because he just loves films.
Yeah, he does. He does like all of those low budget ones. I've seen him in a lot of other stuff too. Even very like almost like indie and home video productions he's in. So maybe he just likes to show up and stuff. But either way, it's nice to see him there for 2 minutes. The other,
he kind of looks like in this film, like he could be passing off for like Randy Quaid.
That's true. Yeah,
it almost looks like oh, Randy Quaid? No, Clint Howard.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he does kind of look. Yeah, he does kind of look like that. And another surprise guest that we have in this film is Michael McDonald, which we have a clip of in the beginning of this episode.
Fucking great.
Apparently in this film, when it first came out, he went as Michael James McDonald, really trying to find his place in the.
Well, you don't want people thinking you're
industry.
Michael McDonald from, What a Fool Believes from the Doobie Brothers. And
yeah, that's true. Yeah. But yeah, that's his really quick cameo is great. Probably steals.
Well, I wouldn't even say it's not even a cameo.
Not really, point. Yeah, because he's not. He wasn't really.
There's no Mad TV.
No,
yet.
Yeah, not in 1994. I mean, I think he makes this film just in that one scene. That he gives a great, very energetic performance. Not really sure if he was going for laughs or if it kind of just happened.
I have to think he was. Yeah, no.
I mean, maybe a little bit of laughs.
What a subtle jab that would be too, when he's like, fucking out drunken Warwick Davis there as the Leprechaun, trying to cure his hangover by drinking a shit ton of espresso. And he's telling him, like, all right, buddy, let's go. St. Patty's Day's over with. Pay for your stuff so I can go home. And he's like, oh, whatever. He's like, come on, dwarf fairy, let's go. And he's like, I'm a leprechaun. It's like, ooh, we have a method actor.
Yeah.
What a subtle little jab that would be, like, too. It's like Warwick Davis. Like, oh, you're a little person. All you can get is these shitty little roles where you're a shitty little person.
Seriously, I know. And Leprechaun 2...
At least I can take it as that a little bit. I still find that, to be funny, though.
Well, it is funny, but I think, Warwick Davis, he did have some really good roles, but, I mean, if you're doing the Leprechaun movies, you've hit some hard times. Like, you're not getting much. Like, he did Willow, and Willow was actually a really acclaimed film. And then Labyrinth, some of the other film, and like Star Wars, I mean...
Well, he's a fucking Ewok. He's Wicket the Ewok.
Right.
But
it's
not like at the end of, like when you're watching Return of the Jedi, like, man.
Yeah, Wicket was awesome in that.
So I totally get the whole, method acting thing where it's like, oh yeah, he's,
Yeah. It probably is tough to find some roles, and unless you are cool with doing every Hallmark movie channel for Christmas, then you probably are going to try to find something that you could fit into as a franchise, and Leprechaun was perfect for Warwick Davis.
And speaking of that and cameo too, Tony Cox.
Tony Cox is in this, yes.
Playing African-American Leprechaun.
Yeah, Unfortunately, he doesn't even get a name.
Not only that, but they must have told him because to walk around, like, just have a shit-eating grin the entire time. Because he's literally just walking around like, hi, fella, how's it going? You know, like...
Yeah, I mean...
It's very...
him...
And I'm not blaming him for that. I'm just saying, like, he was probably, you know, directed to be like, you know, be smiles and happy walking around like, he's one of us, you know?
Yeah,
break into the Lollipop Guild.
I'm going to guess that Tony Cox was probably recommended by Warwick Davis for this, because they worked together in Willow and Star Wars, because Tony Cox was an Ewok in Star Wars. So that's probably was on recommendation of like Warwick Davis to be in this film. So that's pretty cool. And I do like how they kind of got that in there. And like a bunch of, you know, people that they got in there for it.
I mean, I will say, like, I think his small part, he is kind of like funny.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can also find it to be like cringeworthy too, because it's, you know, just like,
yeah,
you know, grit your teeth and smile.
Kind of, yeah, because it's at that point it's just like stereotyping, trying to get as many.
Yeah, because that whole bar scene is just like, you know,
getting as many little people in as possible. Yeah. So, I don't know. I do think that it does have some like meaning for this film, but yeah, I think they try to just shoehorn that in. What do you think about the whole plotting of Leprechaun 2? Really, this is about Leprechaun finding a wife by making her sneeze 3 times. And we end up getting a storyline about Cody, who happens to get one piece of the Leprechaun's gold and becomes invincible to the Leprechaun for the most part and attempts to save Bridget from being enslaved, basically, by the Leprechaun.
My whole question is, so... how did he end up in, like, fucking the middle of the desert in the first film? He came over to Ireland to track the O'Day family line because he said after he got tricked out, which wasn't even he got tricked out of his bride. They're like, oh, if you say God bless you on the 3rd sneeze, you don't get her. And the guy that was his, you know, his slave, he was trying to take his daughter to be his wife, and he's like, no, don't do it. And she's about to sneeze for the 3rd time. He says, God bless you. He's like, oh, you tricked me. No, it's not really a trick. You didn't get fucked out of it.
There's no trick. You should have put duct tape over his face or something like that so he wouldn't say God bless you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, whoever made up those rules for, like, she has to sneeze 3 times, but no one can say Gesundheit or else she's not your wife anymore. That's a little obscene.
Well, it's stupid, but so yeah, he kills him, but then during the opening credits, they show, like, you know, like, the complicated fucking family tree of this, and then, like, how, like, then they went on the Titanic, because that was in Ireland, and then they went to America, and now they, you know, the family's in L.A.
Yeah.
But then it's like, if they went to L.A., where was he during the last film, which was only, like, a year before this, when he was, like, in the middle of the desert, he got trapped there by some fucking drunk in a chest, and then he got let out, or whatever the hell.
I don't know.
And then trapped in a well at the end. Did all that just not happen then?
Must be. You're probably supposed to not even see any continuity in it. Because I'm pretty sure at some point they steal gold from Leprechaun in the first film, and they're not invincible. He can kill them.
I think, yeah, they do. They have just the one gold shilling from
right, and they get killed anyway. So in this film, now magically, Cody cannot be harmed when he has a gold coin in his hand or in his possession.
I mean, I might be misremembering some bits.
Yeah, it's possible. I haven't seen it in a year.
Yeah,
since last year
because it's such a memorable film.
But I'm pretty sure that at some point someone steals gold, and then he kills him for it. I think that's the main idea of that first film: is that they steal some gold from him, and he's going to get it back. So he kills him. I don't know. I don't remember that whole caveat of, like, if I have your gold, you can't hurt me, sort of thing. But, I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, the whole plot of Leprechaun 2 is rather stupid. There's nothing here that's memorable or even thematically resonant. Like, there's no, like, hidden message here about, like, well, you know, maybe
Don't be greedy.
Yeah, don't be greedy, or maybe don't steal gold from a leprechaun or something, you know, something like that. But there's nothing really that stands out in the plot as far as like anything of importance for Leprechaun 2. I think that this is by far the better film in the series from Leprechaun and Leprechaun 2. Like, they learned a lot from that first film. And actually, they learned a lot about how to make it a little bit more interesting with the various magical things that Leprechaun can do. Like in this one, Michael McDonald's killed by a espresso machine that shoots out steam at his face.
Which looks horrible.
It does look really bad. The special effects aren't really that great, and his face doesn't look like it's bubbling so much as like just splitting apart and
growing a horde.
Yeah, gonna be spitting out something from his face. But I think that creativity is here, and it makes it a little bit more interesting to watch. But you're right; the special effects are really horrible for most of it. Like
not only that, but like it's creative, but at the same time, it's like stupid though. Like the whole like tits thing, like he's being like the one kid's being illusioned into thinking he's seeing Bridget's tits, and she's just like whips him out in the garage. Like, this is kind of creepy, but she's like, well, maybe I'll change my mind again. He's like, okay. She's like, kiss me,
right?
And then they show out. I mean, it's a fucking lawnmower. With like that's been propped up with the deck and its blades are like what?
Who leaves their lawnmower propped up like that?
Well, no, because it's the leprechaun doing that. Yeah. But why? Why is the leprechaun killing this kid? He doesn't have gold or anything, so why is he like?
Yeah.
You could just let the kid, go. But like, no, it's more fun to make him think he's gonna, suck on a tit, and then he gets his face, turned into ground beef,
which you don't see. A lot of that happens off screen.
I know, but it's just like, it's still like, it's pointless. It's stupid.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the logic of the film is just not there. Like, if Leprechaun can do all these magic things, then why doesn't he just do that immediately? Like, it should be super easy to like, find this girl and turn her into his wife and have no one bother him. You just get rid of Cody really fast. There's no reason to have this go on and on for so long, like this escapade. It doesn't have to, and the logic of like what Leprechaun can do at what time doesn't really make sense.
I don't really define what power.
I mean, yeah, they don't. You don't really know. I mean, he can do illusions. He can do like magic, and he can disappear and apparate wherever he wants to.
Change his voice and
yeah, there's no logic to it. But I think you have to overlook that if you're going to watch Leprechaun 2.
Or the whole series.
Yeah, very much the whole series.
I mean, I'm not saying like that whole sequence is like total negative, but I'm just saying it's there for the sake of like, we'll have gore. We didn't have enough budget for the gore, but we'll have like,
right. You'll have the semblance of it.
Yeah. I think in the first film, like in that sense, where he's kind of more like gruesome and like personal about like how like he's like rips a guy his eye out and stuff. That's a little bit,
Yeah.
I think that's better than this.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, this film
like
has
this,
a lot of goofiness to it.
Like this like overly complex like Freddy like type of thing.
Yeah. It has a lot of goofiness to it, and I think that they were kind of going for that sort of Nightmare on Elm Street style, not from like the first film, but from the later films where Freddy becomes more and more comical in the ways that he like dispatches his victims. I think that's probably what Leprechaun 2 was using as its approach. It doesn't always work. I think that the creativity is fun to watch, but yeah, you're right. Some of the gags were actually done better in the original Leprechaun. And, I mean, I think that's true of, like, all of the production for Leprechaun. Leprechaun 1 looks like it definitely had more of a budget, more time spent on crafting that film. Even though it wasn't that good, it still seems like it's a little bit more of a
actually had a lower
cinematic achievement, did it? Because this film
the budget for the first film was only $1 million. This one has a $2 million budget.
So, I mean, like, this one, though, doesn't really feel like they spent a lot of it on the actual scenery and makeup effects. I mean, Leprechaun's makeup effects are really good. I think they really match with the original film. But other than that, I don't think the makeup effects are really that good. The special effects don't stand out. There's none that really make a note of like what they can do, what these special effects people can do. Like the one that is when Morty wishes for the pot of gold, and
which I will say that is a like clever way to like kill him because
it is, yeah.
Because you know
he's constantly greedy.
Well, he's not essentially he's greedy, but it's the fact that the leprechaun is going to pervert the wish.
Yeah,
obviously, you know, you say I want all your gold. All right, he'll give you your gold, but he's going to put it in your fucking stomach.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a creative idea,
but it's executed terribly because the effect for
honestly, the effect looks more like he has one gigantic testicle. That's like
he looks like Randy Marsh in the episode of South Park where he puts his balls in a microwave so he gets testicular cancer, so he can smoke dope. So he so while he's going down to the fucking medical marijuana store, he's carrying his balls
right.
Have swollen. To huge in a wheelbarrow.
That's what it looks like because he's like sitting propped up and it looks like he's got a really distended testicle that's like just sitting there.
Somebody kicked him so hard and just,
Yeah. That's what it looks like. It doesn't really look like a gigantic enlarged stomach. But yeah, I mean the actual effort put into that, it's not really that much, but and like I said, there are quite a few like mistakes in this. I did notice one where the boom mic comes down very visibly in frame. That was one. That's a big one. But I mean, yeah, there are definitely some mistakes.
It always amazes me when stuff like that happens. Like,
how does that? How would that slip through? Where someone is like,
nobody said like we don't have enough film to reshoot, like do one more take.
Yeah,
it's just a step.
Or like I can imagine it would probably come down to. Back in the editing room, they were doing it, and for whatever reason, they didn't have Warwick Davis anymore, who probably was requesting a pretty high salary at this point to come back for the second Leprechaun film, so that may be where some of that budget went. But they probably didn't have Warwick Davis or something again. But even then, I don't even think Warwick Davis was in that scene. It was just a shot of Cody, and a boom mic comes down. So, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who was just like, now we ain't got time to shoot that again. Unless they were under some sort of like time constraint. And they were like, no,
this has to get out.
Just run it.
This has to be ready for Oscar season.
Yeah, but it's clear there's a boom mic in frame. But yeah, you're right though. That those mistakes slip through after so many people have like watched and reviewed this footage and edited it, and I don't know how that happens. I really don't. But yeah, it definitely does in Leprechaun 2. And the whole thing is just somewhat sloppy. But
this gives it does. Charm, though.
Yeah, it does. It has its own little charm. And like I said, it really does feel like an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode. Which makes sense, too, because the director, Rodman Flender, he did go on to do a couple Tales from the Crypt episodes after this. I believe it was after this film released.
Party at 5.
Yeah, and he did a lot of
the quintessential mid-90s, TV drama.
Yep, he did do a lot of TV episodes. He also did Idle Hands in 1999, which had Seth Green in it. I don't know if you remember that, with the hands that kind of operate on their own. And most recently, he did the Scream. He directed a few episodes of the Scream TV series. So he's had a lot of work within television, and it kind of stands out in Leprechaun 2 because it does have that sort of 90s made-for-TV feel. I think that's probably
you're right. It literally could just be an hour, 20-minute long version of an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode.
Yeah. Cut out a couple things, and there you go. You got an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode. I don't know.
Wait, he directed the Conan movie? Can't Stop?
Yep. Yes, he did. The documentary. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Interesting what you find about these directors, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know. You got anything more to say about Leprechaun 2 before we give it a rating?
Yeah.
What do you got?
We haven't talked about the cast.
We did a little bit. We did Michael McDonald. We did Tony Cox.
Oh, no, because we didn't talk about good old Morty.
Oh, yeah, Morty.
Played by Sandy Baron. Good Lord. He is probably the best part of it. Besides Michael McDonald's bit, he is by far the best part.
He's very over the top.
Because he's great. He's literally, as I said, he looks and sounds like he was directed by... Why do you play George Carlin? Well, not quite George. Make him a little drunker than... Be a very drunk George Carlin.
That's true. He does really resemble George Carlin a lot.
And the way he talks and just like the way he speaks and enunciates on things, it's like it is almost like watching like a George Carlin bit. And he's great. I absolutely love like just how he's just like stumbling like in the bathroom, like when he's drunk stumbling around. Cody's trying to like sober him up. He's like, yeah, no, I'm good. I can drive. He just slams into the wall and he's like,
yeah, he's good at that physical comedy.
Yeah.
But yeah, his delivery and everything is really, really cool too. I think he's good. He was also, we mentioned he was in Seinfeld, as a kind of he did some cameo appearances in specific episodes. I do remember him in it. He's a funny guy. So yeah, it's nice to see him in this. Even in this film, he looks pretty old and kind of sickly.
Yeah, he does. He looks.
But he didn't. He actually didn't.
Pretty weathered.
He actually didn't end up passing away until 2001. So, he had about 7 more years of film before he did that. Before he died. Trying to think. Warwick Davis is pretty good as the Leprechaun. Although I do think that the script is really pushing the puns and
the whole limerick bit is getting
where he just rhymes constantly.
Yeah, is getting a little annoying. It's kind of like with like Banjo-Kazooie and Gruntilda the Witch. It's her rhyming scheme. It's like you'll either like it or you're gonna find it annoying. And though I find that to be kind of charming and endearing, like this, and I'm not blaming him. Because I don't think it's the performance overall, but I think just like that, again, that direction of like, okay, you're going to be doing like these like little limerick puns every now. It's like...
Well, I just don't think that the puns work that well because they're super forced and just not funny. Like, even though...
Might as well like have like a laugh track after.
Right, yeah, exactly. Like... I mean, I think that that's intentional a little bit. Like, you're not supposed to find Leprechaun super funny to the point where like he's a comedian. I think you're more supposed to see him as like... spouting off all these really bad one-liners, and like he thinks he's funny, but no one else does. I think that's kind of like how his character's supposed to work, but it just doesn't.
Well, it ruins like the charm, though. Like,
it just doesn't like.
You're supposed to be kind of rooting for like in like Chucky when he's like batter up, exactly. That's Yeah,
at least like some of those or some of Freddy's writing was actually funny and creative, but Leprechaun never really gets to that point. It just kind of, I don't know, they all fall flat. None of them are very creative or witty.
I can't really think of one off the top of my head right now from this movie that
no, not really.
That he says that's
yeah, nothing that stands out. No.
I'd also like to mention too the soundtrack. It's golden.
90s gold.
This is besides like we were talking about the one scene where Cody's moping and looking at pictures from they were probably taken the day before when they were happy, and they got like the most early 90s like alt rock song playing. You had like the one little part for no reason just going to
sounds like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air's opening.
Yeah, I know. That's because when we were watching it, he's just like walking down the Cody's just walking down the street and you see like and I was telling him, like, no, this is a story all about how I went to LA.
Yeah.
It's great. It was, like, awesome. Like, somebody said, like, we gotta throw that in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Throw that in there.
Well, not only that, but there's also that U2 performance.
That, you live, like, somebody said, like, okay, we need, like, a moment where, like, Cody's walking down the street, and, like, you gotta be playing, like, a riff that the Edge would be playing, like, yeah,
it's absolutely reminiscent of, like, 90s U2. And... This one actually does come out of nowhere. It really has
the best one.
Has no bearing on the film or what is happening whatsoever. I get the feeling it's kind of supposed to pump you up, like Cody's walking into the lair, and this U2 style, like, uplifting song is playing in the background. But then it kind of fades out into, like, the tense orchestral score that Leprechaun generally has, and it almost feels like two sound guys are battling it out, like, no, I fucking want you two in this one. And some guy's like, it should be tense. It should be a tense moment. And, like, they're in the studio, and then they just compromised, and both were like, well, I'll fade mine into yours, I guess. That's what it feels like. I don't know.
I absolutely love it. It's, like, so great. It's literally like Death Wish 2, where it's just, like, all over the place.
Yeah,
just
not
like,
as much as that one. I mean,
not nowhere near as, like, all over the place. But, like, that, you're right, no, because it is like he's going into the land, like you can like hear like Bono in the background, so like Sunday, bloody Sunday.
I know,
and then like all of a sudden, just like fades from that to like like do 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 do, jiff jiff jiff, do 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 do, pa pa pa.
Yeah, it's
like typical, like very typical bland,
tense
horror music. Yeah, but. I mean, like, the soundtrack overall is not memorable, but, like, there's just those, like, few little, little quirky moments are just like, it's so great.
Yeah.
Because it's the film might as well have ended up and wrapped up with, like, the Friends theme, like, playing. Like, after, like, they defeat the Leprechaun.
Yeah, because it ends really abruptly
It explodes in a hilarious manner.
Yeah. Pinata of Leprechaun pinata exploding.
And... they're like, Cody and Bridget are walking out, and he's like, oh, you're going to keep the coin? Like, no, it's brought me enough trouble.
He throws it, hits the ground. Yeah. I'll be there for you.
Yeah, it literally could end like with a... and then, like, like have like a traditional, like, 90s, like, Cody went on,
Yeah, like the writing on the end. They're making out, and Cody went on to have a great lifestyle, started his own tour gig. He was not conning people, it was a real success. Yeah. Alright, so out of 10 Bloody Blarney Stones, what would you give Leprechaun 2?
I think I gave Leprechaun 1 like a 4 or 3.5.
Well, I can't remember, but...
I know I gave it some... I would give this like a 5.
Only a 5? Wow.
I mean, although it's funny...
Yeah.
And it's got some, like, charming bits... and I do think it is paced much better. Even still, at like an hour and 20, this film does seem like it's a little bit longer. It's kind of slow in some parts.
It is, yeah, I agree.
And I think just the fact that it's so ridiculous and campy and goofy, but it's not really like a good campy and goofy. I think that's what like hurts. I think, like I said, like some of the best things to take away from this are Uncle Morty, Michael McDonald, and then just like some like the aesthetic of the 90s.
True. Yeah.
I mean, because if you didn't like grow, like if you were not from like that, time period, like we are, then you're not gonna like look at that aesthetic and have like some kind of like nostalgia.
Yeah, some fond memories of it. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think I'd probably give it like a 6, I guess. I mean, I did have fun with it. I think it's a lot better than the original Leprechaun. I think part of that nostalgia comes from the Are You Afraid of the Dark feel of it. And yeah, the 90s parts of it too, like all of the costume design and soundtrack and everything like that stands out. Yeah, I do think this has a lot of flaws. But I do appreciate like the creativity of some of the kills and a little bit of the comedy that comes out of it. But like you said, some like Leprechaun's jokes don't work. And it does run a little bit long too. I found myself thinking, how much longer does this have now? Yeah, it's only an hour and 25 minutes, but it does run a little long. And it has a very strangely anticlimactic final scene of just like walking out of the cave and then done.
Well, that's the same thing. The last one too. The kid beats the leprechaun, and then he just like kind of like walks away, and it's like
done.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, it's done.
Mission accomplished.
You don't need to know anything else that happens after this. Done. Yeah, but other than that, yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty enjoyable. It's kind of fun, and probably I don't remember Leprechaun 3 that much, but I think it's probably going to be my favorite out of the trilogy of the first 3 Leprechaun films. I think it's probably the best out of those 3. But we'll find out next year. So, anything else you got? Or we'll move on to administrative duties.
That's it. Administrative duties time.
All right. This is a short and sweet episode this time. There's not a whole lot to say about Leprechaun 2 besides what we talked about. So
I mean,
you can't get blood from a stone to continue to harp on the St. Patty's Day Larney Stone stuff. All right, so you can check us out on iTunes. That is where our episodes live. And we hope that you subscribe and leave us a nice review on there. To put on and help us out. Give us some feedback on what you'd like to see with the podcast. Also, we're on Stitcher, SoundCloud, and pretty much any other podcasting app that you use to listen to. We're on that. So please, if you can, give us a rating and subscribe. We appreciate any help that we can get out there. We're also up on Facebook, facebook.com/Blood and Black Rum Podcast. You can like us on there and follow all of our postings on there. We have a Twitter account. It's at Blood and Black Rum. And I do post all of our episodes up there. And I do help and retweet a lot of other podcasters because we all got to stick together. So give us a follow on there and let us know if you want to do something like a mutual share or something like that. We'll certainly throw that in here. And we also have a Patreon account. That is where you can subscribe to us and pledge a few bucks our way to help with the maintenance costs of the podcast. We really appreciate anything that you can give back to us. Right now, we do have a couple of subscribers, and it does help with some of the costs of the production. But we do also offer quite a few different options for monthly payments. So you can pledge $1, get your name on the podcast. You can pledge $5, and we will let you pick 5 films of your choice for us to review on the podcast. If you pledge 10, we'll do a script reading, a full script reading on the podcast. And we're also looking into doing bonus episodes on the Patreon account just for people who subscribe. So that's something that will be coming if we get enough subscribers. Obviously, we wouldn't make that a normal thing if we didn't have enough subscribers to support it. But we're looking into that when we get more subscribers. Thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. And we will be back next week with The Night Evelyn Came Out of the Grave, which was scheduled for last week, and we just didn't get to it. So stick with us. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Kiss me.